Hi, I'm Dr. Bertice Berry, and I need to tell you this story. I posted a story on Saturday about this book, One Blood by Denise Milner. I rarely tell people I don't know what to read. So in public forums, I rarely say, oh, you should read this. But this was one I needed to say, you should read this. The reason I don't do it is because I like to recommend books based on what I know about the person. It may be a wonderful book that I absolutely love, but it may not be something that keeps you reading. I want to recommend books to folks that keep them reading. So if I know something about you, I'll recommend a subject you're interested in around something you already are in love with or that you find fascinating. So, so I tend to not do that. But this was a book that I felt like people should read this book. And so I did. And this morning I woke up to this wonderful post from a woman named Kathy Cox. And she not only saw my post, she shared the post, she immediately got the book, and she immediately read it. And it says, I'm grateful for language, for words piled on words, for the beauty and terror and power they convey, and for the wordsmiths, for authors, for especially women who tell all the truths they know, who show us our own selves in stories not our own. And right now for Denise Milner and for her novel, One Blood. And for readers, women and men who swallow words like food and find them more nourishing than bread. And for parents who love words, who taught me to live, and for my parents who love words, who taught me to live in all the worlds that good literature opened up for me, who let particularly rich phrases rest on their hearts, who tasted the air and breathed in the soul of every book they read, and for every story I've ever read and absorbed, for every ancestor who ever told theirs, for every story that was whispered or stifled or sung aloud, and for all the forgotten stories that good storytelling draws out of listeners and readers and keepers of stories. Woo, baby, baby, baby. Here's what I didn't say. There's a boycott going on at the publishing house that published this book. It has nothing to do with the author. It's about one person who works for this publishing house. And as a result, Denise's book is caught up in that. But also, I work with a lot of industries to dismantle some of the things that are happening there. And one of the things that I feel happens in publishing, I remember people saying to me, "Who do you think will read your book?" And I said, "All kinds of people." They said, "Is it for Black people?" I said, "Well, I speak to all kinds of audiences, and probably all kinds of audiences will read my book." And they said, "Is it for Black people?" In other words, it better be for Black people. The segregation that happens with Black stories is unreal. And to the point where they have their own section. They have their own table. You go in a bookstore, you want to get there for February because that's where the book is. But our stories, like any story, is everybody's story. And when we make a book a Black book, other folks like Kathy Cox, who is a white woman living in Missouri, connect in a way, because we are neurologically wired for narrative, connect in a way that it allows their stories to be pulled forth. Now, I was especially happy that she was reading this book because of where the person's from and where they get to and how they connect and all the layers of life. And Black stories are more layered than any stories because we live a layered life. We live this life that's kind of hidden to everybody else. And then we live a life that's out there. And then we have this other life. We have all these lives. And so there's all these stories in these stories that get missed because they're segregated and set apart from everybody's story, unless it's on somebody's list or number one book or something. And it doesn't get to be a number one book unless somebody said, man, we went to be. And this is a wonderful, wonderful book with all these stories. Kathy, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Who tell all the truths they know, who show us our own stories in stories not our own. I don't care where they put the books, in the bookstore, in the library, wherever they put them. Librarians don't do it, though. Now that I said that, librarians may have a special section for February, but they don't do that. Literature is with literature. But what I want us to do is to go in all parts of every bookstore, of every library, of everything, and go in these spaces and rattle through them, particularly independent bookstores and secondhand bookstores. Ooh, make sure you go into those independent spaces. They don't curate the same way. Touch the books, feel the books, walk by the books, look at the covers and ask what speaks to me, because you don't know until you know. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Deneen. Thank you, Victoria. Thank you, because this book was a gift to me from Victoria. Thank you. I love you. Keep reading.